To discuss the threat of terror to those doing business in Nigeria is Percy Raditladi, who's MD of the global security company G4S in Nigeria. Percy, thanks so much for your time. I mean, a lot of the work that you do has been predicated on providing private security services to investors, to those moving cash from one region to another. Now that we've got these terror attacks, how much demand is there for the work that you do?
For now, there is some interest from a lot of our customers, especially those in Europe and the US. We are just seeing a lot more inquiries because people are a bit apprehensive. But the business hasn't really seen any major upsurge other than the fact that, yes, this year we've had a good year. There is a lot of apprehension from travelers, which is one of the business that we're involved in.
I mean, to a large extent, you probably need to change your modus operandi in the sense that, as I said, you provide services for those moving cash. You've had to offer services physically for those worried about kidnappings. And those sorts of issues were concentrated largely within the Niger Delta. Now that we're dealing with terror-related threats to Nigeria, does that change the kind of security you're offering?
Yes, well, in Nigeria, we don't offer cash management, but we offer risk consulting. What we've seen in the past 2 years, we have seen some improvement in the risk in Nigeria, in risk threats, and we have seen a drop in our risk consultants. We used to have 100 consultants in 2008, and now we have about 17. So suddenly we've seen an interest in many of our customers who would like to get risk consultants that can help their management teams to deal with the security issues. So definitely we have to look at that business line again, because it means that the kind of insecurity that we had 3-4 years ago is coming back.
And then in terms of deployment across the 36 states of Nigeria, are you having to deploy more facilities, more personnel?
There is a lot more demand for travelers, especially high-profile customers, for armored vehicles and for more armed forces that accompany them as they go to meetings. But given the fact that we don't really have a larger presence in the northern part of Nigeria, we are mainly outsourcing it to companies based in that part of the country.
And then coordination, because many experts are saying there needs to be better coordination between security officials within the federal government, within the 36 states, and then with organizations like yourself, especially as you consult with neighboring countries. We'll get to that in a second. How much of that sort of consultation is taking place?
There is a lot of consultation from government. We are in touch with some of the government security agencies. As you are aware, the governors up in the north had met to address some of the challenges they have, particularly in Jos, which is more of a localized situation. And in Abuja, you know, the president also had the Security Council meeting. But definitely information does flow to security companies to try and look at ways in which we can assist government to combat some of the crime that's happening. We do, in areas like Port Harcourt, deal a lot with security agencies where you do have some kidnapping happening to a lot of expatriates.
And what about working with regional officials? Now, we know that, for instance, when you look at Boko Haram and the alleged Islamic links, they've also got alleged links with Al-Qaeda, who have cells in neighboring countries like Niger, for instance, and in the Sahel. As people start to seek risk consultancy from you, you've got to also have a better sense of the wider regional dynamics. How wide do your tentacles reach?
You know, our business has got the largest footprint in Africa. We are in 37 countries in Africa, and we've got big connections all over the continent, and we are able to offer advice to various governments, which we continue to do. Globally, we are in over 125 countries. So our expertise in security, especially kidnap and ransom, we've recently appointed the head of kidnap and ransom, who is also focusing a lot in areas like this place where you've got a lot of challenges in terms of security.
And then finally, Percy, your risk assessments of Nigeria today, because you're living and working in the country. We get a lot of media reports and we don't know how much is sensational and how much is fact. Give us a very brief risk assessment of Nigeria today.
You know, of course, for external travelers, people still are afraid to come to Nigeria, workers or people that have got skills. But generally, for the ordinary person, especially in Lagos, life goes on. The threat is there. Yes, there is new kidnappings that are happening within Lagos. But generally, Nigeria is a very secure place to work and live in. Most of the expatriates from our assessment that have moved to Nigeria, they don't want to go back because they see that it's a lot more safer than they initially thought. So from an investor's perspective, it still continues to be the best place to invest in Africa. The challenge is that the government is already facing this new spate of bombing that are led by suicide bombers. And once they tackle that problem, Nigeria will continue to rise. You know, Nigeria is a very optimistic place. The Nigerians are very optimistic, and they will be resilient. And I don't think this thing is going to bring them down. If anything, it's going to increase and improve the way the government tackles security, especially resourcing the police and focusing on the right things like reducing poverty with the new government plan.